Hi, I'm Holly from Accrual Mistress Bookkeeping and Consulting, and today I'm going to show you how you can upload different kinds of information into your bank feed in QuickBooks so that you can bring all of your transactions through that particular portal. Okay, so in order to navigate to the bank feed, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the left-hand navigation menu, all apps, accounting, and then bank transactions. Now you can see I have bank transactions bookmarked for myself. So if you also have bank transactions bookmarked, you can actually just go to your bookmarks and then go to the section that you'd like to go to. So we are now in the QuickBooks Online bank feed. And when I first set out to record this video, I was actually going to show you guys how to import a CSV file into QuickBooks in order to bring the information over. Now you can generally export a CSV file from your bank or from your financial institution and then import it into the file. But I will tell you what, QuickBooks has actually just rolled out something very new. Now, this is showing up in mine. I will warn you, some of these features have been in beta mode, so they're being rolled out in kind of a tiered fashion, but this is actually my training file, not my actual company file. So that leads me to believe that it might be available to more people, especially because I have checked a few of my clients and it's available to them as well. So regardless of whether or not you have a CSV file, a .qbo file, or a different file type, you're going to follow the same first couple of steps here. So we're going to go up to link account, and instead of clicking on link account, we're going to click the little arrow next to it and then say upload from file. Now, this is where things get really, really cool, because up until recently, you only had a couple of different file types that you could bring into QuickBooks Online. You could bring in QBO, CSV, and Excel files. Okay, and then there was some additional information that you had to have if it was a CSV or an Excel file to tell QuickBooks the information that it needed to know. But I'm actually going to demo this new tool that just popped up here today and how we can go ahead and take advantage of it. So what we can see right here is that we now have a whole bunch more supported formats. This whole line right here contains some regular ones, some that we were used to seeing, but also a whole bunch of new ones. So here's where things get really cool. I've tried it with a couple of actual bank statements. I unfortunately won't be able to show you with one of the actual bank statements. I've created a kind of secondary bank statement. That way I'm not giving away any of my own banking information or my client's banking information. But I can drop a PDF file in here now, and it is actually going to extract the transactional data for me to review. So let's go ahead and look at that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop the document that I'm working with here. I'm going to drop it right here into this upload section. Okay, so we can see it's sitting here, it's thinking. If you've been using the AI in QuickBooks at all, you know it sometimes thinks for a little while, okay? If we're doing reconciliations and you use the AI version, it just kind of sits and thinks for a minute. But now we can go ahead and get started. So I'm actually going to go ahead and review this myself because I want to show you what this process actually looks like. So here is what's happening. It is pulling all of the information from this bank statement that I have provided to it, and it is bringing it over here for me to review. Okay, so one thing I'm going to say, since this is a demo, I'm not actually going to be bringing in all of these transactions because some of them are already in my bank feed from prior, but it's a great way to also demonstrate the fact that you don't actually have to bring in all of the transactions that are on any given statement. You can pick the ones that you want or need to add. So first things first, I know that I have to add all of the transactions after the 10th of October for this particular example. And I also know that I have to add, let's see. Nope, it's just all the ones after the 10th of October. Okay, so then we only have a handful that we're going to pull through. All right, but what we would want to do here, and on another statement that I did, it actually did have a couple that had little orange lines around the boxes and little kind of exclamation point warnings. if they have that, they want you to verify dollar amount information, or they want you to verify bank text information, something to that effect. You can click into any of these fields here and then edit the information if you want to or need to. Okay, so that is really phenomenal. And I do think that it is definitely an acknowledgement from QuickBooks that this is very new and that it still might kind of require some overall human intervention to make sure it's accurate and working. So I'm going to go ahead and import those 6 transactions that I need. And then it'll think for a few. And then here we are, we're seeing these transactions now showing up where they were not here before. Okay, so I have this $500 initial deposit that wasn't there. And I also have these transactions after the 10th that I brought through. Okay, now a couple things here. First, if for any reason I had accidentally brought in a transaction that was already here in my bank feed, no problem. I can just go ahead and check the box here and then say exclude. Okay, you can do that anytime you need to. And excluded transactions don't just disappear either. They actually go into this excluded tab up at the very top. All right, so the reason why this is super exciting is, first of all, for the longest time, we only had a few different formats that we could bring information in through the bank feed, okay? This has greatly expanded that. So now if we have a PDF version of our statement, we can upload that. QuickBooks will read it out. Yes, we might have to do some manual intervention to look at that and to get it all figured out and make sure that it is correct going in. But then it puts it into the bank feed where if we have existing rules or if we have anything else that helps us automate that data entry process, we can still take advantage of those features without having to manually enter the data. Okay. Now you might be saying, hold on, part of the reason, and I'm always the biggest advocate of this, one of the biggest reasons I recommend people get QuickBooks or another accounting software is because of these bank feeds. These bank feeds save so much time on data entry. So, if you're able to connect your account, fantastic. And I always say that should be the first thing that you do. But I'm actually working with some people right now who we're working to recreate years worth of data. And one of the limitations that banks often have is you can't always get information from years ago in a file type that you can import into QuickBooks. Okay, so a lot of banks, you can only pull, say, 18 or so months worth of transactional data to import into QuickBooks in a CSV file or a .qbo file. So this fixes that. Banks are required to make it so that you can access your statements for up to 7 years. So as long as I can get bank statements from my clients, even if I'm trying to reconstruct data from years prior, I can now do that. And I can now do that using the bank feed, where before it was a much more manual process. So there were some third-party softwares that kind of allowed you to do the same thing. You could get a PDF file read into an Excel file, and then you could import it. But it was clumsy. There were multiple steps involved. This really does cut that down, and it makes this really, really phenomenal. It's a great tool to have, and I hope it's really going to make data entry easier for people. It was also great because, as you can see, I knew that there were transactions that I had already entered here, and I was able to only select the ones that I needed to have imported. So that could be really great too if you have an issue where the bank feed broke mid-month and you need to just get the month finished. You could just use the statement to do that, then reconnect the bank feed at the correct date. All right. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions about this new feature in QuickBooks, please do let me know. I've been so excited to explore it, and I really do hope you find it helpful in your business.